Evening.
Good evening. All right.
Good evening.
See, are we missing anyone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we're good. City Clerk, are you ready to get started?
I am.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order then. And if you would join me in a moment of silence before we do Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll move on to roll call. Thank you. All right, if you join me for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, next that will take us to roll call.
Commissioner Moody,
Present.
Commissioner Isasi,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Present.
Commissioner Ruppert,
Here.
Commissioner Lanier,
Present.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, thank you. All right, next I will just do a couple walkthroughs with the agenda tonight before I introduce Lilibeth, who is available for translation services. So tonight we have a couple opportunities for public comment. The first opportunity for public comment is public comment on items that we're voting on tonight. So those are action items and items that we talked about earlier in one of our meetings that we'll be voting on tonight. And if you're interested in speaking on one of those items, you can call 456-3000 or 311, hit number 1 and then number 1. We do have a scheduled public hearing tonight, and that is a scheduled public hearing on our Regional Consolidated Housing and Community Development Plan. So if you want to speak to that, you can call in and hit number 1 and then number 2. And then any other public comment, you can call in and hit number 1 and then number 5. So with that, I'll introduce Ms. Lilibeth to provide translation services for us and let you know how to access those if you need them.
Thank you, Mayor Bliss. Good evening, everyone. If you need interpretation services to address the City Commission, I will be able to assist. Please dial 456-3000 or 311 and choose the option you'd like to speak on tonight. Buenas noches. Si necesita servicios de interpretación para dirigirse a la Comisión de la Ciudad, estaré disponible para ayudarle. Marque el 456-3000 o el 311 y elija la opción en la que desea comentar esta noche. Gracias.
Thank you. All right, so that will take us to our first opportunity for public comment. So again, this is public comment on items that we are voting on tonight. So for this public comment, we ask that you share your name, the city that you live in, the specific item that you want to speak on, and then you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. And I'll turn it over to Daniel to see if we have anyone in the queue.
Here comes the first caller, Mayor.
Thank you. So for this public
Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device? Oh, that caller has hung up.
All right.
Are no more callers in the queue? I don't know if we're caught up to live.
City Clerk, are we caught up to live?
Oh, you're not. It's going to take about 20 seconds.
There is one caller in the queue.
Okay.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name, the city in which you live, and the agenda item upon which you'd like to speak. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
This is Peter Carlberg. I'm chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee of the grant of the John Ball area neighbors, and in opposition to the zoning text changes that are on your consent agenda. Our problem is with the proposal to let developers put first floor residential in TBA zones basically by right without public hearing or special land use. And we think this needs to be addressed actually at some kind of public hearing. This shouldn't just be allowed without public comment.
Is that all your time, caller?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name, the city in which you live, and the agenda item you're speaking on. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Josh Lunger. I'm a citizen of Grand Rapids, and I'm pleased to call on behalf of the Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to share our appreciation and thanks and excitement for two items on your agenda tonight, the zoning text amendments, which I know staff has put a ton of time into, and there's been great engagement and a lot of excitement for not just the housing benefits it can bring to our city, but the commercial, the vibrancy it can bring. And it's just really great to see some of these things coming to a head now as we're trying to approach the end of the pandemic. And then I also wanted to support, and again, really thrilled for, I'm sure, countless hours that went into it from not just staff, but other stakeholders like the Right Place and our medical mile partners to bring Perigo here and investing in a major project in our downtown. Particularly right now, I think this really validates a lot of the work that we're doing as a community to be the next place, and just couldn't support it more. So thank you all for everything, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name, the city in which you live, and the agenda item you're speaking on. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, this is Jerry Coyman. I live at 2104 Dewberry Drive Northeast in the city of Grand Rapids, and I also work for Michigan State University College of Human Medicine. I'm calling on the item on the agenda relative to Perigo and the tax abatement resolutions, and just really appreciate that the city is taking this up. This is a phenomenal opportunity for the city of Grand Rapids to have a corporate entity like Perigo being downtown. It's also a great opportunity in terms of life sciences on the medical mile. We at MSU have just developed a long-term relationship with Perigo for working together in innovation and research. And that will pay great dividends in future years as we develop product together. And then, of course, there's an opportunity to go nationally or worldwide with that product through their distribution center. So we're very excited about this opportunity and appreciate you taking it. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Mayor, there are no more callers in the queue.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. I'll go ahead and close that opportunity for public comment, and that will take us to the next item on our commission meeting tonight, and that is approval of our minutes. And these are our minutes from our last commission meeting on January 12th. Can I get a motion?
Well,
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll turn to our city clerk to call the vote.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi,
Yes.
Commissioner Robart,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, next that will take us to petitions and communications.
The first one is a communication from Juan Davis regarding their resignation from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
That is referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communication from Alyssa Rickman regarding their resignation from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
That's referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communications, 6 of them received expressing support for the proposed zoning text amendments.
That's received and filed.
Communication received from Eliana Boothvin, Executive Director of Neighbors of Belknap Lookout, expressing opposition to the Union Suites project.
That is received and filed.
Communication received from Carl Kelly expressing opposition to defunding the police and the usage of public parks for homeless encampments.
That's received and filed.
28 communications received expressing opposition to an urban campground.
That is received and filed.
Communication received from Jen Schaub, Director of Community and Building Engagement for Dwelling Place, offering support and assistance to coordinate listening sessions with residents to discuss the uses of Hardside Park.
That's received and filed.
Communication received from Samuel C. Keller expressing support for an urban campground in Hartside Park.
And that is received and filed. All right, next that will take us to reports of city officers.
The first one is the comptroller's report for the period of December 30, 2020 through January 12, 2021 in the amount of $17,713,105.80.
That's received and filed.
And treasurer's report for the period of December 29, 2020 through January 8, 2021.
And that is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to our consent agenda. And on our consent agenda are items that we discussed and voted on at one of our earlier standing committee meetings where there was unanimous support. So tonight with one voice vote, we will adopt those items. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any additional comments? All right, seeing none, I'll turn to our city clerk to call the vote.
Commissioner Isasi,
Yes.
Commissioner Repart,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier, Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, that will take us to items removed from consent, and we have one item that has been removed from consent. This is an amended resolution authorizing conditional approval of a tax exemption and payment in lieu of taxes, as we refer to it as a pilot, for 78 South Division Apartments. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. I'll turn to Commissioner Isasi to tell us about this. She serves on our fiscal committee and I know was a part of this discussion this morning.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this item was removed. We added amendments to our session. There was concern that was expressed, I think, from all three of us and other members of the commission, as well as other outside parties, neighborhood groups, and other invested individuals in our city, of past practices regarding pilot programs by this developer. So we had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Nguyen, who is a representative of the developer there, and we talked about those concerns. And then prior to had worked with our city's attorney office to understand how we could create some conditions so that we can better track that this project is going to be following and really indeed do what the pilot is intended to. So we received those assurances, and I'll review just those three conditional pieces from the language. I do want to say thank you to our city attorney Hitchcock and Joy Fossil for helping us with this language. So I'll just read these three pieces because I think they're the most germane to this, this item that was moved from consent. So these conditional pieces are the developer project sponsor compliance now and in the future with state statutes, city ordinances, city commission policies, and city administrative policies. Number two, the adherence to any promises, representations, and or assurances made by the applicant in the pilot application, and that there are no substantive changes to the project, and it may be made absent additional authorization from the city commission. Substantial changes include, but are not limited to, changes to the scope of the project and or the number of rent restricted units available for lease. So that is what we present to you as this amended item.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, I know Commissioner Moody and Commissioner O'Connor were a part of this discussion. Anything to add?
No, ma'am, Madam Mayor, I think Commissioner Isasi summed it up for both of us, at least for me.
Okay. Commissioner O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think it's important to note too that, we've approved between this meeting and the last meeting, a significant number of these conditional pilot approvals, which is exciting. It means that there's a lot of folks interested in investing in housing outcomes in Grand Rapids, especially affordable housing outcomes. And the way that these projects line up with the timeline for low-income housing tax credit applications. That's why we're getting so many this time. There's only going to be one round of funding this year instead of two. So everyone's trying to get their ducks in a row. And so we appreciate everyone's efforts to want to invest in housing outcomes in Grand Rapids. And just again, this project, if it goes forward, we're happy and excited to support it. We just want to make sure that it follows through on its commitments that it's made, and adding some additional assurances for taxpayers was important to our discussion this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner O'Connor. And I agree. I'm delighted to see this many projects applying for LIHTC or low-income housing tax credits. And we will do our part here at the city to make the case why those projects should be awarded the LIHTC credits. So thank you for your work on this. Commissioners, any questions or comments about this item before we call for the vote? All right, seeing none, I'll turn to our city clerk.
Commissioner Repart,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, Commissioners, next that will take us to ordinances to be adopted. And we have 4 ordinances before us tonight. So we'll start with the first one.
First one is an ordinance amending section 3.2 of ordinance 2019-53, new classifications and range change, performance and sustainability officer, government and legislative officer, and communications director.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioner, what do you want to tell us about this?
Yes, ma'am. Back in March of 2019, the city manager added corporate performance management to the sustainability office. These new classifications and range changes went before the Civil Service Board and have been approved. And so tonight we bring them before us to say that these officers have been met and have met the criteria for what the city manager requires.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions or comments about that? All right, I'll turn to our city clerk to call for the.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi,
Yes.
Commissioner Repart,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, next that will take us to our second ordinance to be adopted tonight.
Consideration of zoning ordinance text amendments affecting the traditional business area, TBA, and commercial C zone districts.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Looks like we have our planning director, Ms. Turkelson, here to provide us with some information about this, although I know that we've talked about this at length. So go ahead and I'll turn it over to Ms. Turkelson and we'll see if anyone has any questions.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you. Yes, we have discussed this amendment on a few occasions previously, and ultimately the proposed amendments would provide some greater flexibility to the ground floor use requirements within our traditional business area, as well as our commercial zone districts. The proposed amendment would also eliminate a bonus height structure within the TBA zone district or traditional business area, but it does not increase the overall allowed height within that zone district. So I thought I would just be here for any additional questions that you may have, and certainly can provide more information if needed.
Thank you, Ms. Turkelson. I'll open it up. Commissioners, any questions or comments about this item? All right, I'll start with Commissioner O'Connor and then Commissioner Lanier and then Commissioner Isasi. Commissioner O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to the Planning Department, the Planning Commission. This has been a fairly long process to get here, but I appreciate their flexibility and creativity. I know a lot of folks have been invested in thinking about this and talking about creative ways to utilize spaces in Grand Rapids, and I think this is some common sense approaches to helping address main floor vacancies in our TBA districts, as well as increase the supply of housing available in Grand Rapids, and make sure that what we're doing aligns with what we actually need to be able to have successful and high functioning business districts.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Lanier?
Yes, thanks, Kristen, for jumping on this evening and for all of your work and everyone else who contributed to it. I do have just a quick question. We had earlier in the meeting public comment, and the caller was asking about notification for, I think they were asking specifically for a public hearing, and I know we're attempting to expedite these types of projects by allowing them by right as opposed to having public hearings, but I am curious to know if there's a way to do some notification so that a neighboring business would know that, if their neighbor is considering this option, that they would just get some postcard to say this is coming up. But with it being by right, I don't know if there's a time where the owner would have to engage with city government in order to trigger the notification, or, is this one of those, as a good neighbor, just notify your neighbors that you're making this conversion? I don't know what's the best way to try and address the concern that the caller had earlier.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. So the Planning Commission actually did have quite a bit of discussion prior to their hearing, where I presented the findings or the discussion that we had with the development community, the housing community, about the very concept of how should we inform policy? Should we be informing policy? And ultimately, the Planning Commission had a very robust discussion prior to the hearing and determined that they did not feel that moving residential to a special land use, which would have triggered the public hearing for each individual project, really had the benefit, that's not the right word, but we felt that the benefit associated with making it permitted was far greater in terms of providing the needed housing supply, as well as providing population density to support the existing businesses that are within that district. And that's really critical to the vibrancy of the overall district, but also the success of those existing businesses. So they really felt that those two elements were really critical, and holding a public hearing for something that was both a need and part of our vision is really counter to the redevelopment ready community process, where we really want to try to streamline what we want to see happen. Certainly there's a variety of tools that the city does have available. We have, it's called Building Eye, where any resident within the city can be notified for every single permit that comes through the development center, which would include use approvals associated with the building permits. Of course, there's filters so that not everybody receives every permit, but certainly building permits for commercial districts in their neighborhood is something that they could receive alerts to. So we do feel that those tools are available, but we did not embed that process within the recommended zoning ordinance.
So thank you for sharing that. I don't know that I was personally aware of that tool. So, I think that may be a communications opportunity for us to, as we're making these types of changes, to help residents to know, here's how you can stay involved or stay aware, or, here's an opportunity for you to be alerted about the changes that are happening. I suspect, and this caller didn't say that, but it's likely a business owner who probably has a business in a business district who would want to know if that type of a change is going to impact their business district. So thank you for that response. I think that's an opportunity for us to kind of share publicly what tools are available. Thanks.
We can definitely work on that. I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. That's a good question. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you. Thanks, Kristen. And my question was just more along the lines of kind of what we talked about today around our economic development plan, but kind of looking at it in the same way from this perspective, just being able to track. Obviously, this was one of the policy recommendations out of Housing Next. How can we sort of stay up to date about, obviously it's not going to happen overnight, but how this policy change and how it's being impacted, so then we can continue to cross-reference that against Housing Next. I think particularly as we are obviously talking about creating more housing supply, but we also know that we have a number, because of the pandemic, because of COVID, more and more of our neighbors are experiencing that cost overburden. And so just wanting to have a good point of view about, what our decisions enact. So it's more about how this will be reported out in the future and just how we'll track this. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. We've actually thought about that. That did come up in our earlier discussions with the committee, and we have the ability to do that with our permit software. And my colleague John Overman and I are working on that, and thought that perhaps the economic development project team, where we provide those development center report outs, would be a good process for us to report how many new housing units are resulting from, in this case, this particular code change. Absolutely, we can do that.
Thank you. I think that would be appreciated. And Ms. Turkelson, similar to how the report is laid out now, would we be able to break down the number of units based on ward? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. All right, other questions or comments on this item? All right, I'll just add my thanks to everyone who worked on it. I know a lot of community input has been involved. A lot of community members have stepped up to be a part of this process. And I also just want to reiterate that these changes are very much aligned with the housing needs assessment that we all received last year. So thank you again for that. All right, I'll turn to our city clerk to call the question.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi,
Yes.
Commissioner Repart,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Aye.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, next that will take us to our third ordinance to be considered tonight.
Is a consideration of amendment to an approved SD PRD Special Districts Planned Redevelopment District located on the east side of Coit Avenue Northeast between Fairbanks and Trowbridge Streets.
All right, can I?
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Thank you. Mr. Colson, you want to tell us about this one as well?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commission. So these next two ordinance items, if it's okay, are actually combined together. So I'll speak to both of them, but certainly can pull it apart if there's any questions. So this ordinance would amend a previously approved planned redevelopment district. And collectively, it would facilitate the redevelopment of a 3-story building that would provide 52 dwelling units. They are planning to submit for the low-income housing tax credit, although that's not pertinent to the land use approval, certainly. And so effectively, the first item would rezone, maintain the rezoning of the, maintain the zoning of the planned redevelopment district for the development. And then the northern half of the block would rezone which is the second item, would rezone from the existing PRD, planned redevelopment district, to the low density residential that would support the existing uses and was the prior designation. So the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on December the 10th and recommended support to the City Commission. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Great, thank you, Ms. Turkelson. All right, I'll open it up for questions, and we'll first focus on the one related to Coit, and then the next one we'll talk about, just to make sure that it's clear and not confusing to anyone who's following along tonight. So commissioners, any questions or comments for Ms. Turkelson related to this item? No. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you. Kristen, I think this kind of what Commissioner Lanier did, bringing in this project was also, we received a letter from the Belknap Neighbors Association, correct? And I just want for the record for it to note, they were not supportive of it. From what I read, it was a split vote from one of their land use committees. So just wanted to put that out also in the public record. It was in the packet, but just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for drawing our attention to that. I know I read that as well, and I appreciate the input from the neighborhood. And with that, I have to weigh the balance of the need for housing in our community. And so I went back and looked at some of the conversations with our Planning Commission, and appreciate their input, but I'm still supportive of moving forward with this change. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think the important thing to note too is that it was a fairly split decision. So that's really what I wanted to highlight. It wasn't you've got a group of body of neighbors. And so I think as we talked about today, there's a variety of complexities. So that's one point in this legislative process, but I wanted to be sure to lift that up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll turn to our city clerk to call the question on this item.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes.
Commissioner Moody.
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi.
Yes.
Commissioner Repart.
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, Commissioners, that will take us to our last ordinance to be adopted tonight.
Consideration of rezoning 628, 636, 638, and 644 Coit Avenue Northeast from SD-PRD, Special Districts Plan Development District, to TN-LDR, Traditional Neighborhood, Low Density Residential Zone District.
I'll move
All
it.
right. All right, moved by Commissioner Jones and supported by Commissioner Isasi. Ms. Perkelson, anything to add to this item?
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments about this? Okay, seeing none, I'll turn to our city clerk.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Isasi,
Yes.
Commissioner Repart,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, Commissioners, that will take us to our scheduled public hearings, and we have one scheduled public hearing before us tonight. And this is a public hearing on draft, the fiscal year 2021 through 2025 Regional Consolidated Housing and Community Development Plan. So what I'd like to do is give Ms. Bohach an opportunity to share some information about this. For those who are watching who wish to weigh in, you can call 456-3000 or 311, hit the number 1 and then number 2. But I'll first turn to Ms. Bohach, see if there's any questions from this body, and then we'll open it up for public comment.
Thank you. I think there's a slide presentation that I'll try to get through pretty quickly for you to introduce this item. But tonight we're seeking comments about the draft Regional Consolidated Housing and Community Development Plan that's also known as the Hcd Plan. And this document is for both Kent County and the City of Grand Rapids. This is our second time that we have put together a joint plan for the purposes of meeting HUD requirements. Next slide, please. So the Hcd Plan serves as the city's strategic plan to address housing and community development needs and priorities over a 5-year period. It's required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for us to obtain federal program funds that we receive on an annual basis, and that's the Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnerships Program, and the Emergency Solutions Grants programs. The plan actually guides the investment of those dollars on an annual basis. And this 5-year plan covers the period of July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2026. And during that time frame, it's anticipated that between our two jurisdictions that we would anticipate receiving more than $40 million. Of course, that's contingent upon appropriations that are established on an annual basis by Congress. Next slide, please. So the city and the county contracted with Community Planning Insights to develop this draft plan. And we used a variety of approaches to gain input. There was a series of focus groups, public forums, and an online survey that was conducted to receive input. There were 9 focus sessions held and 10 public forums in which half of those were held in Spanish or hosted in Spanish, and then the online survey that was very broadly distributed. Next slide, please. Through that process, a variety of needs were identified and prioritized in 5 areas. One of the a very, I guess, continuing need that's identified in the community is the need for affordable housing and the construction of housing, and in particular, permanent supportive housing, with data within a variety of plans indicating data that supports that 32% of our Grand Rapids households are housing cost burdened, and of those, 17% fall within the severely cost burdened category. So that continues to be a high priority need, as well as housing services that help folks make home repairs, help them to achieve home ownership, as well as to stay permanently housed, so rental payment assistance. There was a lot of focus on economic development in terms of creating job opportunities and training, as well as support for small business, providing technical assistance and services to small businesses. Public infrastructure was also identified in terms of street improvements and park improvements. And we did see for the first time a lot of information related to internet, the need for improved internet access. And then under public services, we saw a lot of, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of input around the need for childcare, medical and mental health services, and emergency payment assistance. Those things rose to the top, likely because of, I think, the situation with that we're encountering in our communities with the pandemic and unemployment and a lot of issues related to kids being home and the virtual learning that's occurring today. Next slide, please. When we develop, so not only do we take into consideration the input that we receive directly through that part of the process, but we also take into consideration other plans and data that might be available from other things, from other planning processes that occurred throughout the city. So the plan also considers the City of Grand Rapids strategic plan in terms of our own organizational priorities and what we're trying to accomplish as an organization within our community and within our organization, as well as the Bowen National Research for Grand Rapids through the 2020 Housing Needs Assessment. There was a needs and opportunities recommendations report that was developed by Housing Next, was taken into consideration, the K-Connect, redefining the path home, Housing Now data compendium, and the great City of Grand Rapids Great Housing Strategy. So we take all that information as well as the direct input and put this into the consolidated plan in terms of data elements. So the plan itself is a very dense document, partially because of the requirements that HUD has in terms of elements that have to be included in it. So it's over 200 pages in length. And so we try to take this information and boil it down into a more useful tool for us when we, because it is supposed to guide our investments over that 5-year period. And so we establish investment outcomes that allow us to do that in a more easy fashion and for, I think, the public to be able to consume and digest. So over the next 5 years, the investment outcomes have been, 8 investment outcomes have been identified. And those are outcome 1, to prevent and resolve episodes of homelessness. Outcome 2, improve access to and stability of affordable housing. Outcome 3, increase the supply of affordable housing. Outcome 4, improve the condition of existing housing. Next slide, please. Outcome 5, foster engaged, connected, and resilient neighborhoods. Outcome 6, improve community safety. Outcome 7, improve economic opportunity. And outcome 8, enhance neighborhood infrastructure. On an annual basis, we will use those outcomes to guide our funding process. That's culminated in what we refer to as the neighborhood investment strategy. And we will solicit notices of intent to apply, and then have the ability for folks to, for organizations who want to submit projects to us, to then actually fill out full request for proposals applications. The first step here, though, is to make sure that we get the HCD plan adopted, and it's been available for public review and comment. We are taking written comments, and we will continue to take those comments through February 2nd. Any comments that we receive in addition to tonight's public hearing, we will provide, we will consider for any edits or changes to the HCD plan. And then we will bring it forward to the City Commission for final approval on February 9th. In the meantime, we have launched the process to start our annual funding process, and the notice of intent to apply was advertised, and that that stage of our process actually closed at midnight today. If you can, anyone who would like to provide written comments can submit them to the community development at the address that's provided there, communitydev@grcity.us. Do you have any questions?
Great. Thank you, Ms. Bohach. That was a really important overview. This is a critically important process as we move forward, especially as we focus our attention and investment on housing and homelessness and eviction prevention. So thank you for that. Commissioners, any specific questions for Ms. Bohach before we open it up for public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and see if we have people in the queue who wish to be heard on this item. Daniel?
Here comes the first caller.
Thank you.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
How you doing? My name is DeAndre Jones, and I'm calling about the fiscal budget for the next couple of years. There's a couple of things that I didn't hear about. I didn't hear about renewable energy and like 3D printed homes. It's literally entire villages being printed, and the 3D printers are about $10,000, and you can print a home in 24 hours. I know that nowadays they are actually printing 2-story homes, and the material that they are using to print these homes are sustainable. They're a lot more cleaner and better for the environment, and it's sustainable. And you can put solar panels on these 3D printed homes, and you can also provide housing that you can literally create homes for about $10,000 to $4,000 that'll be sustainable, that people could actually live in. I'm sure that anybody in the homeless population, or even I would stay in a 3D printed home because it's a lot more safer for the environment, and it's a great innovative thing to do. I believe the city of Grand Rapids should look into that because that's a way to save money instead of paying a big developer to develop a building and use bricks and you can actually print a home that is actually more sustainable, and it's the material used from the homes is actually a lot more stronger. I also would like to say, as far as the funding, are you guys going to be doing any type of reaching out to the landlords? Just because a lot of people rent homes here in the city of Grand Rapids, and we want to talk about sustainable living and being able to push the renewable energy wave. There's a lot of people that rent homes here, but the landlord is the people that usually have the say-so to put solar panels on the home, so we're kind of making the city a lot more sustainable. I would like to see the city of Grand Rapids, if you guys happen to have any money in the budget, could you guys reach out to some of these landlords or have like somebody within the planning department or the economic development department reach out to the landlord so we can start to put solar panels on these homes, so we can start to save people energy and bills, so they can start using that money for a lot more things that we can help people save money. We can make the city a lot more sustainable. We can do a lot more things. That's all I really had to say. I hope you guys look into 3D printing. I hope you guys look into getting solar panels and creating more opportunities for workforce development here for the city of Grand Rapids. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name, the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Haynes, and I live at 1755 Ranch Drive Northwest in Grand Rapids. And I'm calling as the Executive Director of the Fair Housing Center of West Michigan. And I just wanted to call and just make it known how grateful we are that the city continues to recognize fair housing as really an essential service to its residents. Housing, we all know, we're also aware of how the crisis with access to housing and affordable housing. So anything we can do to remove illegal barriers to housing choice is so important for us to take care of. So thank you for that ongoing commitment. I would also like to just recognize Connie Bohatch and her team, Joanna. We are so grateful for the partnership we have with them. The Community Development Department of the City of Grand Rapids is among the best in the country. So thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device? Thank you. Yeah, just needed you to lower the volume. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Abigail Bartlett. I work at Healthy Homes Coalition in Grand Rapids, so I'm not here on their behalf. And then I live in Kent County. And I just wanted to make public comments that I guess a preference towards giving some of those contracts towards nonprofit developers, and knowing that the sustainability that I think the first caller talked a little bit about is more likely to continue when it's nonprofit rather than for-profit developers. I also think on the intersection of housing and public health, particularly environmental health, I think part of this is the work I do is using some of those funds towards things like lead abatement and proactive work of housing that also is damaging, which I think was point number 4 or outcome number 4, which was improve existing housing. And so in focusing on some of those environmental factors. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Mayor, there are no more callers in the queue.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. We'll go ahead and close that public comment period, that public hearing, I should say, and that will be referred back to Committee of the Whole. All right, that will take us to our last opportunity for public comment tonight. This is public comment on any other item. So if you are interested in speaking, you can call 456-3000 or 311, hit number 1 and then number 5. So Daniel, do we have anyone in the queue?
Here comes the first caller.
Thank you, Daniel.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Can you please lower the volume on your device? Thank you.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
I'd like to make a comment.
Please state your name and the city in which you live.
My apologies. My name is Neil. I'm a resident of the 2nd Ward here in the city of Grand Rapids. I'd like to make a comment to voice my opposition to turning Hardside Park into any type of urban encampment. My primary concern is safety for those that would be living in that encampment. These are human beings that would be living there. We deserve to give them more than simply a spot to pitch their tent. The city has done some wonderful things with outreach for homeless population. I would encourage them to continue with those efforts and not try to solve it by some type of zoning or other ordinance that would turn a public use park into a homeless encampment. There's simply not the facilities or the resources in that area for that. My understanding is that when Hardside Park was founded not so long ago, it was the last remaining green space in the Hardside neighborhood. It would be terrible to see that misused in a bid to try to help the homelessness issue in our city when that would not really help them at all. Thank you again for the ability to make this comment, and I thank all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioner. It's Josh Lunger with the Chamber again and resident of Grand Rapids. I just wanted to share our support for the tremendous job the city did addressing the challenging situation in Hardside Park. I felt that staff has addressed this with foresight, intentionality, and compassion. We've heard from a lot of folks this week that have heard about the petitions and were confused because they've seen the work that's gone into addressing what, again, is a very challenging situation with no quick fixes. The actions the city did provided a safe alternative. It included a partnership with social service organizations addressing conditions that were quickly deteriorating as winter approached. And again, we just really feel like the city's done the right thing, and we greatly appreciate it. We hope the commission and community will continue to support working towards real solutions that have improved outcomes for the homeless individuals and for those other nearby stakeholders. So on behalf of the Chamber, thank you, and we hope that the good work will continue as we work our way through this pandemic. Bye.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
How you doing? This is Andre Jones again. First of all, I'd like to say Happy New Year to the mayor and city commissioner, city manager. I wish I could have been able to dance with you guys at the beginning of this year. It would have been cool to do. But I like to just say that as you guys are working on the fiscal budget and listening to public comment and people speak about public housing and affordable housing, that you guys really reach out to landlords so that we can be able to reduce rent and reduce the energy that people are using. If we want to be able to push for carbon emissions, reduce carbon emission here in Michigan, I believe that in the city of Grand Rapids is the second biggest city in the state of Michigan, that we can be able to really push an innovative, creative wave here in Michigan that has never been seen before, and be able to be that leader, that leading city for innovation and 3D printing. I hope you guys look into 3D printing. It's a cheap, sustainable way to be able to create housing for people, sustainable housing, and you can actually develop 2-story homes that are very luxurious and beautiful. I would also like to say that thank you guys for creating the Safe Pitch Task Force, because I've been able to create my own entrepreneurial venture when I've been able to sell hats to be able to proceed and give back to the organization that actually gave me my start. And I look to continue doing the work here, being myself in the community and giving back and just trying to create opportunities for others. And so I hope that you, the mayor, commissioner, city manager, city attorney, city clerk, I hope you guys have a great year, and I'll continue to call in, and I'll continue to stay engaged, and I hope I see you guys out in the community, and that you have a blessed night. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device? Thank you.
Yes.
Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay, thank you. My name is Adam Sherman, and I am a resident of the 3rd Ward of Grand Rapids. And I'm calling today to express my concerns about the tax exemption that you're going to be considering for Perigo Company. I have emailed all of the city commissioners about this topic, and I'd like to reiterate some of my concerns here. I'd also like to thank Commissioner Yasasi for responding to my email earlier. It is my understanding that you'll be considering industrial facilities tax exemption and a new personal property tax exemption for Perigo Company for a span of up to 12 years. And I would ask you to deny these tax exemptions, because they could end up robbing the city of Grand Rapids of an estimated $800,000 in lost tax revenue. And while the citizens of Grand Rapids are struggling to pay rent, mortgages, medical bills, and other cost of living expenses in the midst of a global pandemic, I feel the city simply cannot afford to give a tax exemptions to a company that is already receiving something in the neighborhood of $4.1 million in tax breaks. Perigo is based in Ireland as of 2013, because that is at that time they completed what was the 6th largest corporate tax inversion in U.S. history, meaning that despite the fact that 70% of Perigo's net sales are from the U.S. healthcare system, that company does not pay corporate income tax in the United States. And I would ask the city commissioners to put your duty of protecting the interests of the citizens of Grand Rapids above that of giving corporate welfare to a company that reported $1.21 billion in revenue for the quarter ending September 30th of 2020. And if you are not fully persuaded to deny those tax exemptions, although I really insist that is the only proper course of action, then I would ask that you at least do not allow for the full 12 years of exemption. The year 2020 has shown us all how unpredictable the future can be, and it is for this reason that granting a 12-year tax exemption is simply unacceptable. The city of Grand Rapids already suffers from underfunded public schools, roads that are in disrepair, a lack of affordable housing, and rampant unemployment. Not knowing what the future may hold, it would be incredibly irresponsible to grant such enormous exemptions for a 12-year span. If you do feel the need to grant these exemptions, I would ask that you limit the exemptions to a span of not more than 2 years. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Mark and I'm from Grand Rapids. You know, this housing situation is pretty interesting and pretty, quite frankly, really disturbing. Now, we can talk about affordable housing all you want, but there's no such thing as affordable housing. Now the bottom line is the housing going to be market rate, which nobody cannot afford, which the low income people cannot afford. And the people who can't afford, who can't afford market rate are gobbling up the low income housing. That is disgusting as far as I'm concerned. I think we need to go, I think what we need to do is have some sort of rent control in there. If the people who can afford market rate housing go into market rate housing, either that or not at all. Because the bottom line is this: as long as market rate people go grab the affordable housing, the people who can't afford the low income people who cannot afford the market rate, there's going to be more homelessness, and that's going to lead to something worse, either death, crime, or whatever. But that's the truth. Somebody go out to say it, so it may as well be me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Mayor, there are no more callers in the queue.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. All right, I'll turn to my colleagues on the commission table. So I'll start with who I see up in my corner. So I'll start with Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say or recognize two individuals on this evening. One is both Vera Beach and Community Rebuilders. They were the recent winners of the Community Wins Grant program, which helps to bring more affordable housing to the community. I think it was like $150,000, which is a pretty big deal. So I wanted to give a shout out to Vera and her organization. I also want to recognize our own City Manager, Mark Washington, who was the recipient of the 2021 Paul I. Phillips Presidential Legacy Award given by the Urban League of West Michigan. This occurred last Monday at the MLK breakfast. So I just wanted to recognize our city manager as well. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Connor?
Thank you, Mayor. It's a good day here at City Commission. I know there's some consternation about a few of the things that we adopted today, but I do feel like we had a significant number of people interested in investing in affordable housing in our community, and it's great that the city can step up, given the tools that we have in our toolbox with the pilot, to support those. And I hope that as the low-income housing tax credits are awarded, that we're awarded several of those, and we can celebrate when we have a variety of new housing opportunities coming online for people, in the next 12 months or so as they get built and funded. The Perigo investment in Grand Rapids, I spoke to that this morning, but that is a significant development in our community, and will bring over 150 jobs that average about $65,000 a year to Grand Rapids. And that is a catalyzing project to continue momentum in a high growth, high tech category along the medical mile there. And the zoning changes, that was quite quiet, but I think that's another great opportunity we're going to have as a community to see additional investments made in areas of need. And so I appreciate the fact that all of you, my colleagues, supported those, and those were unanimous decisions today. And that feels good that we made good changes together.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Lanier?
Thanks to everyone who provided comments this evening, and I am really thankful for Jen Schaub from Dwelling Place for the email that she sent extending her hand to assist us in engaging not only the neighbors who are experiencing homelessness, but also those who live in the Hartside neighborhood. And I think we know that this is a complex and very challenging situation, and it's going to take listening. And so I'm eager to hear kind of the next steps in providing opportunities for us to kind of hear from the community that is quite diverse and have different opinions on this very complex issue. I think there's, to your point, Commissioner O'Connor, I think there's a lot from today that has been said and that has been done. And I just want to thank the city manager for his leadership and his team as they have been producing some very significant policies and partnerships and bringing forth really good policies before this body for us to consider. And I'm thankful for that and thankful for all of you. So have a great evening, and that's it.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Moody?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have very much to say tonight. I just think the progress that's taking place in our city, there is much work that still needs to be done. And yes, progress is being made in some areas faster, in some areas slower. I hope everybody have a good night, and may peace be with each and every one of you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Isasi?
Thank you, Mayor. Support everything that has been said. I think the word that has described how I have felt about being on this commission last year and this year is so often that we make decisions that are binary. We sit up here in this electronic dais and we say yes or we say no. But we know that there is so much more. There is the lives of the people that we interact with, that we hear from, that write us, that call in are not binary. They're living in lots of shades of gray. And I'm hopeful and grateful for these ongoing conversations around the issue of homelessness. And also, I think the need to continue to tackle the issue of housing and housing affordability overall. I would like to see us continue to focus on those that are cost overburdened. Where are the prevention points that we can connect to so that we do not have to be in these continued situations of these binary choices, but looking at the issues of housing and homelessness and understanding that it is not just about not having that choice or not knowing where to go, but also dealing with things like mental health, looking at accessing a quality job, and just wanting to make sure that individuals can experience the city in all the ways that I think we all do. So that's how I feel tonight. I feel pretty good, but I know that we still have this continued engagement and work to do. We talked quite a bit today about communications and how we make decisions, which I think is even more important now than ever, because we are just not interacting with the public and individuals on a regular basis. So I also want to give a third thank you, hopefully, to our city attorney, Anita Hitchcock, to go beyond that binary, to not just say yes or say no as we worked on the issue of the pilot that was in front of us on fiscal, and to say what is another solution to get to a win-win situation. So my continued thanks to you and the department, and to Joy. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Repper?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. It was a good day today, and I'm thankful for all of you colleagues. I'm thankful for everybody that's been reaching out to us, emailing us, calling us, particularly for the overwhelming care and concern for our unhoused neighbors. And whether the people wrote to us and are in favor of a urban campground or against it, it was clear to me that everybody knows and cares and wants to see us make even further progress for that issue. So I'm encouraged by the actions that we've taken over the past 10 months to address homelessness. Clearly, we need to keep our creative engines running and look for every opportunity we can to find some long-term solutions. It's pretty exciting to me that in our last 2 meetings, we've approved pilots for 700 affordable housing units. 20% of those are permanent supportive housing, and hopefully all of those will come online. I know of 5 affordable housing projects along just the South Division corridor alone that are being considered and worked on right now, some for veterans, some for seniors, some for people with disabilities. And so those long-term solutions help us on the way, but in the interim, it's been really encouraging to me to see people's creativity and willingness to come together and start talking about how we can address these things. And I thank the city staff for their openness to those ideas as well. And so I am encouraged today, even though we closed this snowy night. It's a cold day, knowing that a lot of people are outside, and that's tremendously. We should all leave this meeting with that hanging in the back of our minds, and so that we don't stop, and so we continue to search for the things that are going to alleviate the suffering people are experiencing in our community. So thanks again to all you colleagues and to the city staff for a really good day and robust conversation about the future of our city.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let's see, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. And I have to give kudos to my staff as well, because you can't do the body of work that we do alone. And so I want to give thank you to Joy and to Amber, because they were very pivotal in helping me in getting that work done. And I'd also like to thank the commissioners, Commissioner Sassi and O'Connor and Commissioner Moody, because that work that we did it together, we did it as a team. You allowed us to be proactive in this and make it happen. And I just appreciate that tremendously. My staff appreciates it. And sometimes I don't know that people realize all of the hard work and the great work that goes on behind the walls of City Hall. And I just want to be able to say thank you to you as well, and have a good evening.
Thank you, City Attorney. City Clerk?
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
All right, City Manager? Oh, City Manager, I think you're muted, or I can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Do you want to come into my office or Joel's? No, nothing. Okay. All right.
I feel good. I'm not the only one that had that problem from time to time.
We all have those technical problems from time to time. So City Manager, if you have anything you want to share with all of us, you can shoot us an email after this meeting. I'll end on with just a couple comments. So one, I share all of your comments, and I know we all share the same concern and real heartbreak about level of homelessness that we see in our community, and the need for affordable housing. And it has been a priority of ours, and it will continue to be a priority of ours. And it's, there's a lot of important things happening right now, including as we weigh in on the funding recommendations with the consolidated plan, but also as we look to what we can do here at the city to be a partner really with a lot of individuals and groups in our community who also care about this. Commissioner Jones, thank you for elevating and raising up the recent Community Wins grant. I want to say thanks to both the U.S. Conference of Mayors and Wells Fargo for that $150,000 grant, which will, so it's a partnership with Community Rebuilders and with Link Up to build affordable housing that has smart technology that will put right at the fingertips access to health and community services in the hands of the individuals and families who live in those units. And I really believe that we'll be able to replicate that. I also want to say congratulations to both our city manager for the recognition at the MLK breakfast for the Paul I. Phillips Leadership Award, and to James Hurt. So if you didn't see, James Hurt was recognized as a Newsmaker of the Year for his work here at the city. So join me in congratulating him. And then the last thing I want to say is I really want to just take this moment to say thank you to all of the incredible people in our community that continue to work on issues related to the pandemic, and specifically everyone who worked really hard to get the vaccine clinic that is right across the street from us at DeVos Place set up. I had a tour of it this week. It's a partnership between the County Health Department and Spectrum and Mercy, and all of us should be proud of the coordination and collaboration that came together to make that happen, where they'll be able to provide vaccinations to thousands of people a day right here in our community. So if you haven't signed up yet for your vaccine, I encourage you to do that. Get in line. You'll get contacted as soon as the vaccine is made available. But I encourage you to do that. It's really important that as we come out of this pandemic, we're going to get there quicker if we have more people in our community get vaccinated. So I just want to say thank you to all of our partners who continue to really be the heroes on the front line with this pandemic. So with that, commissioners, I'll call this meeting to an end. And I wish you all a relaxing night and stay safe and warm out there. And I'll see you in a couple weeks.